What's going on YouTube? My name is Twig, and today I'm happy to be talking about my review after 100% of Metaphor ReFantazio. I've literally been grinding this game non-stop since it released back on the 10th. Well, honestly, even before that, I put quite a bit of time into the demo as well. So I've been pretty much living in this game, and I'm excited to finally be talking about my thoughts on this one. Going in, I knew it would probably be a Game of the Year contender for me personally, and I think it definitely lived up to the hype I had for it. We'll dive deeper into my thoughts in just a little bit, but first, I do want to say thank you for taking the time to watch this review. I've started reviewing games that I 100% here on YouTube in video format since I've been writing reviews on Steam for quite a while now. I give details about the game, talk about my journey through it, and then showcase an achievement breakdown section as well for people looking to obtain all of those, as that is what I primarily focus on and enjoy pursuing. Use the timestamps below to pick through sections of the video that interest you the most, and if you do game on PC, feel free to add me on Steam or join my curator group on there. All the links will be down below. With that said, Metaphor is priced right at the $70 mark, with there being a digital deluxe edition for $30 more, which comes with some skins to equip, a digital art book and soundtrack, and a few other things. The physical collector's edition is pretty cool as well. I may have to pick that thing up eventually just to get that bookcase. It's priced at $150. Playtime will vary greatly with this one. I watched all cutscenes and read all dialogue my first time through the game, and my first playthrough took roughly 67 hours, while on my second playthrough, I flew through the game skipping pretty much everything and finishing that run in about 17 hours for a total playtime on that save file for around 84 hours. Now I do want to mention I did follow a guide posted by PowerPix, which cut down thinking time and testing dialogue answers considerably in my opinion, as I did want to manage relationships with all the followers, max out all the attributes, and be sure to grab all items needed for quest and collection achievements in my first playthrough, but they can be done again in NG+, which starts right after you beat the final boss and watch the closing cutscenes. This game was developed by Atlas, who needs no introduction for their huge success on killer titles of the past. You can definitely tell Metaphor has a good game formula mix from the Persona and SMT games, and it features the calendar system for you to keep up with as you complete bounties, advance quests, spend time with followers, build relationships, cook, clean, fish, basically whatever you want to do. The game cycle is broken up into a few different sections or chapters, whatever you want to call them, but I don't want to spoil too much. If you played JRPGs like this, then you can kind of know what to expect, and if you haven't, you'll quickly find out like I did. The complete story of ReFantazio takes place over the course of a couple months. I go more in depth talking about the calendar in the achievement section of this video, but just know it does feel like a very long journey that you do go on. Choose what you do during the day and what you do at night. The freedom to go wherever you want opens up drastically after a certain point in the game, and that gives you even more freedom. The story is pretty linear in terms of dialogue actions and selections, as well as which areas of the map open up to you next. Before I get to talking about the story, gameplay, or my thoughts, I do want to say I'll try to keep spoilers to a minimum. I will obviously be talking about the game from a point of view after doing everything in the game, but I know some of you out there are taking your time with it or just want to check out what the game is all about before picking it up. There will be gameplay and mechanics that I show that is from later in the game. I just won't talk about why you get those or anything, but just keep that in mind moving forward. You play as a traveling boy who is embarking on a journey alongside a fairy named Gallica in order to lift the deadly curse placed on his childhood friend, the Prince of Uchronia, who everyone thinks has died. You are from the Elda tribe, branded as a tainted people by the state religion, who believe they have inherited dangerous and heretical magic that is rare among the populace. The Elda tribe are detested and discriminated against throughout the kingdom. I really did enjoy all the tribes. There are 8 in addition to the Elda. You have the Clamar, who are averse to irrationality, the Rusant, who pride themselves on strength, the Rogue, who are long-lived and see the value of passing something on, the Ishkia, who are thought to be highly intelligent, the Nydia, who are very sociable and outgoing, the Parapis, who love a lively banquet, the Ujif, who value harmony, and the Mustari, who don't really speak all that much. All the tribes were created from scratch, which is super cool. The story takes off with the reigning king being suddenly assassinated, and the kingdom must find some unity to elect a new one. Filled with chaos and unrest among the land, a royal tournament for the throne is announced, and this fantasy setting really drew me into this game. I'm a huge fan of fantasy in general, and the different tribe conflicts mixed with vying for the throne made me want to play this one even more. This was the first turn-based game that I ever have 100%. In fact, it's the first turn-based game that I put more than just a few hours into. I played the Divinity series here and there a few times, but nothing too lengthy. My brother actually brought this game up to me a few months ago, as he loves these types of games and he's always trying to get me to play them, but for some reason I decided to go all out and set the goal of actually getting all achievements in this one. These are typically not my type of games, but I did set a goal for myself this year to branch out and try new genres and games out of my comfort zone. Metaphor is a very easy game to 100% in my opinion, as you can complete the game and get 98% of all achievements during a storyteller difficulty run. There are 5 difficulty options to choose from: storyteller, easy, normal, hard, and then regicide, which becomes available after beating the game for the first time, and it is extremely tough. You can change the difficulty during your playthrough except for regicide and storyteller, or if you bump it down to storyteller during a playthrough, then you're stuck on that. Being new to the genre, I started on easy difficulty and then ended up bumping it down to storyteller about mid to late game. The bosses were absolutely crushing me, and if you don't have the correct archetype set up and you don't use the correct actions, you'll definitely be punished. It's just really something that I had to learn. You can buy knowledge from the informants of each town that cover dungeons and bounty targets, which is super cool, and I was moving through the game so fast it was hard to find stuff online. Storyteller difficulty helps you earn money, the mag currency, and XP at a much faster rate to help you transition from area to area, along with giving you the option to continue fighting after your squad gets wiped during battle, which doesn't feel good using that, but I had to utilize it to learn for my next playthrough, which had to be done on easy, and it helped out a lot. In terms of progression, you'll have quite a few systems to keep up with along your journey. You level the base stats of your character as you get XP from killing monsters and stuff, and as you level up, you'll be able to put attribute points into one of the 5 base stats, which are strength, magic, endurance, agility, and luck. My first time through the game, I focused on a pretty leveled build where I tried to keep strength and magic around the same, and then endurance and agility about the same. But on my second time through, I knew I wanted to specialize in strength, so I pumped a ton of points into it. By the time I got to the end of the game, I think I was around level 82 on my first time through, and then level 58 on my second. The next progression system is leveling up your archetypes that you unlock more of as you level up ranks with your followers. Archetypes have a separate XP bar from your main stats, and as those level, you'll unlock skills to use in battle. It is good to note, once you hit the max rank, which is 20, you can continue to use that archetype because every subsequent level after 20 rewards you with a consumable currency that you can then in turn use on other archetypes not being used as much. You'll also need to keep up with spending time with followers and doing their side quest to increase their bond ranks. There are 14 in total, I believe, and all of them get unlocked by progressing through the story. They all have 8 ranks to max out, so you can spend time with them and get a little extra insight into their life as well. As you get into the later ranks of your followers, and even in some cases early quest, there will be speech checks to initiate that require a certain level of one of the 5 royal virtues. Each one of these goes up to level 5, and you can level these up by doing various activities such as listening to people tell stories and reading books. As you play, a lot of these things just naturally rank up, so I wouldn't worry about them too much, but like I said, this genre is new to me, especially the calendar mechanic to keep track of. There are 5 days in a week where you can basically do one activity in the day portion and one activity at night, with the exception of going to dungeons where you have to take the night off. You can see the big day counter in the top right of your screen to make sure you know when that big deadline is for the overlying quest, and once that day comes, you'll pretty much be forced to advance to the next area of the game. In terms of combat, what I think was a key feature of attracting me to this game in particular was the ability to fight outside of the turn-based combat system. You can stun enemies before initiating it to basically get a free turn, or you can even take enemies out without even having to jump into it if you're high enough leveled. Once you do start it though, you'll be able to see crystals in the top left showing you how many actions you have left, and those can come and go quickly. Exploiting an enemy's weakness or getting a critical hit adds a crystal, and missing your target, getting repelled or blocked takes 2 away. There are also skills later in the game that you and even enemies can use to add action crystals. In the later stage of the game, I found that armor and weapon types become more of a factor in determining the success of battles, instead of just relying on archetype preferences and skill choices, whereas all of them become more important for later quests. Using items is also an important point of combat that can sway the fight back in your favor. Replenish health and MP, uncharm a follower, or even snack on dishes that you made using recipes found to give you even more action crystals, which can totally take advantage of the game's systems. Before we get into talking about the achievements, I do want to give a spoiler warning and let you know that if you don't want to hear about some of the late game achievements in Metaphor, I would probably save the rest of this video for later, since we'll be talking about in-game events and such. To start things off, there are about 10 missable achievements that you'll want to keep in the back of your mind as you play through the game. You can complete your first playthrough completely on Storyteller difficulty, and then you will need to do a second NG Plus playthrough on either easy or higher in order to unlock the Red Scale Dragon Super Boss. Before we talk about him though, let's cover some of the notable ones that you'll want to knock out along your journey, and keep in mind all of these can be done in your NG Plus playthrough. I just preferred to do them all in my first, even though you have to pretty much play through the entire game all over again. There are your usual story mission achievements unlocked for progressing the game. There are quite a few miscellaneous ones for doing things like riding your sword around for a super long distance and bungee jumping off a ridge on 3 separate occasions. And then you have your progression style achievements for maxing out all archetypes for the main character, getting max ranks with all of the followers, cooking all recipes, reading all books, and completing all quests, which in turn you'll probably naturally obtain a few more while pursuing those, like visiting every town and unlocking the full map for the Worldly Wisdom achievement. I will say shout out to PowerPix again, not only for their trophy guide, but their complete game walkthrough, which helped out a ton with finding all the gold beetles along the way, and it also helped me to not miss any of the debates, which occur only on certain days in certain areas. There is a lot to do in this game, and the calendar system works in favor of giving you quite a bit of game time at the end of the game to allow you to finish off a lot of these things, like knocking out the Colosseum related achievements. Summon Mask Time was an achievement that I barely finished in time in my first playthrough, where you have to create all vessels and masks with more. You can buy pieces from a character in Brylehaven, or you can find them in dungeons, which came down to the wire for me on my first playthrough. The good thing is, when you do go into NG+, all of your items, gear, money, and mags stay. You don't lose progress on any of your archetypes either. It's just you'll have to unlock them again by repeating follower ranks through spending time with them, and you'll have to level up your character's base stats from the start again. It's honestly not too bad. Defeating the last boss in the game without breaking any of the crystals will be a super insanely tough battle, but you are rewarded with the Star Shatterer achievement. And then you should only have one achievement left on your list unless you're doing cleanup on a few in NG+. It's also good to note, once you go and face the final boss, you go directly into NG+, so there is no free roam. The Red Skull Dragon boss fight can be accessed at any time in Academia using the book, and it is a very tough fight. There is a strategy called the Sublime Spoonful strat, where you basically consume a food item that you make, and it gives you an endless turn of attacking, which never lets the dragon get a hit on you unless something goes wrong, like you missing an attack or something. As soon as you get access to fishing, then I started fishing for Lord of the Lake and Queen's Honey Jar items by picking the correct answer in the dialogue, and the way that you get access to catching these items is by having trail bait in your inventory, which you get from cleaning the storage room in the Gauntlet Runner. The last piece to the puzzle are the Gauntlet Shrooms, which can be found in the pantry. You'll have to save and reload to get a constant supply of these because it is random, but the Lord of the Lake and Queen's Honey Jar can be reliably obtained. Stacking up around 16 worked for me. I used every one of them in order to defeat the dragon and earn the final achievement called Closing the Book, which then in turn unlocked the Traveler along with it. The game ran really good for me overall. I didn't have any problems in my 80 plus hours in this one. There was a major patch that occurred right as I was finishing my second playthrough, and it ended up causing the game to be stuck on the 100% downloading mark for like 3 hours or so, and I did the last portion of my run on my Steam Deck and it ran amazingly. It does have a playable rating right now on the Steam page, but I can totally see it getting verified really soon. I think the only thing some people had issues with was the text being kind of small and not proportionate for the Steam Deck, which is what a ton of games run into, but I honestly prefer small text as long as it isn't super small. And some people have said on the discussion board that they tweak some settings like anti-aliasing to get the game to run flawlessly, but it ran perfectly fine for me just booting it up and running at default. It isn't graphically demanding, and the specs are good for the deck. It feels like this game and other JRPGs would be super fun to play on there. I was just laying in bed finishing up the last couple quests I needed to do until it was time to fight the final boss. Metaphor has been such an awesome game to experience and complete. I loved almost every second going after the achievements in this one. Man, the story cutscenes were phenomenal, and I have to admit my eyes did get a little watery at 2 or 3 points. I want to make this section of the video a little more personal, so let me choose a couple specific things about the game I favored over the rest. My favorite area would probably be Brawlhaven because of the water and atmosphere. The most memorable dungeon is definitely Dragon Temple. I never want to go through that maze again. My favorite archetype is definitely the Prince, but I did put a lot of use into the Mage lineage as well. They did a killer job with all of them in my opinion, especially having royal versions of each lineage for each of your party members. And so my favorite follower would probably have to be Hulkenberg, even though it was great holding hands with Yuffie there at the end. Hulkenberg is just the best person to have by your side if you were going after the throne. I love the story, I love the beautifully crafted soundtrack, and the journey to 100% this one is one that I'll never forget. What an awesome time it's been. We just hit 2.5k subs on this YouTube channel, and we reached partner status, so that's a huge milestone for us. I just want to say I really appreciate everyone out there for watching and listening to me talk about these awesome games that we're playing. Metaphor will always be the game that I remember as my first JRPG, and now I have so many titles opened up to me to explore and play. I know I'll be picking up the Lunar Collection when it comes out, and if it has achievements, I think it does. That would be awesome to cover on the channel. We have some really cool games coming out soon. I'm taking advantage of Steam Next Fest and trying out some demos now. Really just happy with the state of gaming and the quality of games we're getting, whether they're AAA or indie. I've been loving them all. I hope you all have an amazing week ahead of you. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.